From his earliest years, Alexander lived under the dual weight of privilege and expectation. As the son of King Philip II of Macedon, he was destined for power, but Philip feared that without the right guidance, his son would grow into nothing more than a reckless warrior prince. The Greeks saw Macedonians as crude highlanders, fierce in battle but lacking refinement, and this prejudice stung Philip deeply. He refused to let his heir be dismissed the same way. Alexander possessed fire, ambition, and fearlessness, but also impatience, pride, and a stubborn nature that made him difficult to shape. His Macedonian tutors could teach discipline and endurance, yet they could not polish him into the kind of leader who could command not just armies, but the respect of the Greek world. Philip recognized that Alexander needed more than training. He needed transformation, and so the king made a decision that would alter the course of world history. He would bring to Macedonia the greatest mind of the age. After long negotiation and considerable expense, Philip secured the tutelage of Aristotle, the famed student of Plato, a philosopher whose mastery extended across ethics, politics, natural science, logic, and rhetoric. Aristotle was not merely the most learned man of his time. He represented everything the Greeks admired: discipline of thought, clarity of speech, and a deep devotion to knowledge. His presence alone would legitimize Macedon's royal court. Philip ordered an entire sanctuary at Mieza to be renovated into a school worthy of so distinguished a visitor. Surrounded by groves, gardens, and stone halls, it became a serene haven for learning. Here, Alexander and the sons of Macedonian nobles, Hephaestion, Ptolemy, Seleucus, would gather to study under Aristotle's guidance. The philosopher saw immediately that Alexander's mind was sharp, restless, and hungry for greatness. But he also recognized fragility within him, a temper quick to ignite, a pride easily wounded, and an ambition that could either elevate or destroy him. Aristotle's first task was to instill balance. He taught Alexander that courage without wisdom becomes recklessness, and ambition without moderation becomes tyranny. He encouraged the prince not simply to memorize facts, but to question, reason, and understand the deeper nature of the world. The lessons that began in this quiet sanctuary would reach far beyond Macedonia's borders, shaping the mind of a boy who was destined to change the shape of history itself. Under Aristotle's rigorous yet compelling guidance, Alexander was introduced to a universe far larger than swords and cavalry drills. The philosopher believed that a king must understand the world he rules, its people, its creatures, its natural laws. So Alexander's lessons ranged from ethics to political theory, from medicine to biology. Aristotle taught him how to observe nature with precision, how to listen to people with empathy, and how to analyze complex problems before acting. These principles cultivated a discipline of thought that balanced the prince's naturally fiery temperament. Yet Alexander was not always an easy student. He was impatient, quick to frustration, and eager for physical challenges rather than philosophical debate. When bored or restless, he questioned the purpose of lengthy lectures. But Aristotle met his resistance calmly, reminding him that learning's roots are bitter, yet its fruits sweeter than honey. The philosopher saw that Alexander possessed a rare ability, a mind quick to understand and a heart quick to act. What he needed was harmony between the two, reason guiding courage. Aristotle also sharpened Alexander's gift for persuasion. Through studies of rhetoric, the prince learned how to inspire loyalty, command respect, and move the hearts of men. These lessons would later echo on battlefields across Asia, where Alexander's speeches stirred thousands to follow him willingly into danger. His eloquence, born in the peaceful gardens of Mieza, became as powerful as the sword he carried. But perhaps the most profound influence Aristotle had on Alexander was intellectual curiosity. He encouraged his student to ask why the world behaved as it did, to question myths, to seek truth beyond tradition. This pursuit awakened in Alexander a love of discovery that never faded. On future campaigns, he would carry scientific equipment, collect plants and animals, and send specimens back to Greece, living proof that Aristotle had molded him into more than a warrior. As Alexander absorbed these teachings, he also began crafting his own worldview. He embraced Aristotle's idea that Greek culture represented refinement and progress, but he reshaped it to fit his own rising ambition. Instead of believing only Greeks were fit to rule the world, Alexander envisioned a future where nations could be united, not just conquered. The foundation for one of history's greatest empires was quietly forming in the mind of a teenage prince, guided by the greatest teacher the ancient world had ever known. By the time Alexander reached 16, the bond between teacher and student had matured into mutual respect. Yet Macedonia was changing rapidly, and Philip's ambitions required him to depart for new campaigns. In a display of immense trust, the king appointed Alexander as regent, temporary ruler of Macedonia, marking his first true step into political authority. The responsibility was enormous. While still little more than a youth, Alexander now held power over noble families, military officers, and the everyday governance of the kingdom. It did not take long for his abilities to be tested. A revolt erupted in a frontier region, threatening Macedonian control. Rather than wait for his father's return, Alexander acted decisively. He assembled a small force, marched swiftly to the rebellious city, and crushed the uprising with strategic brilliance that surprised even seasoned commanders. The victory sent a message throughout Greece. The young prince was no ordinary heir. He possessed clarity of command, fearlessness in action, and a natural authority that compelled loyalty. Though Alexander's duties as regent marked the end of his formal schooling, Aristotle's influence remained rooted in his decisions. He applied principles of moderation in governance, showed curiosity toward foreign customs, and maintained the persuasive power cultivated during years of rhetorical training. Even in military matters, the philosopher's teachings played a role. Alexander began analyzing terrain, enemy psychology, and strategy with a scholar's precision and a warrior's instinct, a combination that would later make him unstoppable. As Alexander's political and military responsibilities grew, Aristotle gradually stepped back, returning eventually to Athens to found the Lyceum, where he organized his teachings into a body of work that shaped Western civilization. Yet despite the physical distance, the marks of his mentorship stayed with Alexander for life. The Conqueror carried books annotated by Aristotle, practiced philosophical reflection during long campaigns, and sought to spread Greek culture not merely through force, but through knowledge and exchange. Their philosophies would evolve in different directions. Aristotle envisioned Greek superiority, while Alexander imagined a blended empire of cultures. But the foundation laid at Mieza remained unshakable. Teacher and student, though separated by years and miles, walked parallel paths that shaped the ancient world. As Alexander stepped further onto the stage of history, riding beside Bucephalus with his father's armies behind him and the world before him, one truth was clear. He carried within him the courage of Achilles, the ambition of Philip, and the mind of Aristotle. And it was this extraordinary union that prepared him to rise beyond king, beyond legend, into immortality.